Hey folks, Kevin Inoue here from Flight Designer LLC and Case Western Reserve University. This summer, I decided to take on probably a little bit more than I can chew in terms of this whole lifelong learning new skills, challenging yourself kind of thing. But I'm going to be trying to keep you all up to pace on at least some of these because I think they're interesting things to share. So amongst the projects that I've got going on technology-wise, is 3D printing, which I'll talk some more about a little bit later as I'm still trying to figure that out. And MoCap. Motion capture is a part of some grant-funded projects that I'm working on. So amongst the things I'm trying to figure out, one is this is a part of a larger project having to do with augmented reality as a learning tool, as specifically first-person video and being able to kind of follow along. And I'll talk more about that later. And the other is about using motion capture as a actor movement training tool in the classroom. So not necessarily training for motion capture performance, although that could certainly be an application down the road, but also just sort of as the modern digital descendant of our traditional forms of puppetry and mask work. The fact that you can now put on a motion capture suit and see yourself live mapped onto a completely different body type, a completely different face, a completely different morphology. I think there's a lot of potential there, and that's something that I wanted to explore. And thankfully, Case Western, through a number of different grant programs, has been very helpful in supporting me in this work. So I wanted to help people come along on that journey with me. So what I have so far is a Perception Neuron Studio suit. Now, I say suit. I didn't actually want a full suit because I want something I can swap around with different actors in the classroom. And I didn't want to have to worry about things like it fitting or hygiene issues or things like that. So this is actually a series of straps. Perception Neuron Studio is a strap-based inertial system. So it doesn't require an installation with the cameras and what we're all used to seeing with like the ping pong balls and all. It's not an optical system because I don't have a devoted space where I can set the stuff up and just leave it there. I wanted something I could bring into a classroom, run off my laptop, try on 5 different actors in a session, have it projected up on the wall, and they can see themselves go. So that's where I'm hoping to go with this. Will it work? Remains to be seen. Now, I've only tested out this Perception Neuron Studio suit once with with my son. And so you can see, if I open project here, this is within their proprietary but free software. As you can see, I'm still learning this. This is also a new laptop. These systems tend to only work on PCs, whereas I've been traditionally using Mac-based environments, and so this is another new thing I'm having to learn. It's just the PC environment and a new laptop on top of trying to learn Unreal and Access Studio and everything else. So this is some data that we did upstairs just in my living room, and this is my 11-year-old son here dancing around. And going into the next room, so I was in the dining room over here. He went through a couple doors over into the living room. In a moment here, you'll also see him get up and so jumping to see if the feet will leave the ground. One of the things that the kinetic systems sometimes have a hard time with is trying to guess whether or not you're on the ground. So that's actually walking upstairs there and then walking downstairs. And yes, this particular system, one of the drawbacks of a non-optical system is it has no way of knowing where you are relative to anything other than yourself. So if you try and climb upstairs, it's not going to necessarily know there's stairs, and it's going to continue to try and attach the ground level to your bottom foot, whatever that is. I do not yet have the gloves, but I did recently get a grant to be able to finish completing this setup by getting a set of the gloves, actually a couple sets in different sizes, because those are size specific, whereas the suits are not. So what I'd like to do now, one of the other complaints you hear sometimes about these inertial-based systems is that they're a little too subject to interference. Now, we'll have a new facility next fall, which I'm really looking forward to, but right now I'm in my basement, and as you can see, these are metal beams along here. There's a metal pole there behind that green screen. There's a metal pole here that has all these lights on it. There's a Wi-Fi router down there. There's a 3D printer down there. There's 2 laptops in the space. So there's a fair amount of potential interference. So I wanted to see if this will work in this environment. And I've had some folks asking, like, hey, how are you with interference? Let's find out. So this is the actual box of goodies. This is what you get in the mail. And so what it is you've got a series of sensors here, which I have not been charging recently, so we'll see if they need help. And we've got this box to connect it. And there's a proprietary USB key that goes into the laptop, without which it will not be able to recognize the suit. So let's get all of this set up. Let's see if I can get things to connect. And I'll show you what it looks like on a body. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm putting on these straps. These each have these little plastic locks. And they're nicely separated, organized into different bags. So right now I'm working on the bag that is the legs. There's 3 different sizes for each leg. So we've got upper thigh, calf, top of foot. Here we have the arms. Here we have the body. So these are going to hold the sensors. I'm going to go ahead and get these on first, and the sensors actually click in fairly easily then once we are done with that. This goes through. That's going to be in the back. Now, I'm guessing this is all going to be easiest if you have someone to give you a hand. Just from my experience of clipping my son into these. It remains to be seen to some degree how well I can snap myself into some of these things, because the sensors go where I can't see. But I imagine once you get used to it and figure the system out, it's not going to be that hard. This was on an 11-year-old. I'm a little bigger around than my 11-year-old. Shocking, I know. These are supposed to go through here. All right, this is not made for large people, I suppose. But I don't think these straps through the bottom are really necessary. I didn't even bother with them at all when I was using it with my son. So if these don't reach, probably not the end of the world. All right, you don't need to watch all this. Back with you in a sec. Okay, so now you can see I've got the straps on, and there's a series of them throughout the body, and they just have these little plastic things. So what I'm doing now is I'm gonna turn these on and calibrate them. Now, the box they come in has this nice foam to keep them safe, but when that foam is in, you honestly can't see what color the lights are, and you kind of need to do that to make it do its thing. So I'm going to run this through its little setup wizard, turn on sensors, which you do by unplugging this. So it's kind of running through its checklist now on the program, getting its sensor count. Now this is one of those areas where it can be a little bit picky, and when I was doing this with my son upstairs, for some reason when I rotated the box 180 degrees, that made a difference. It didn't work the first time, did it after that. All right, so it's done with its check. And now we snap them on. So these are all labeled here. Once you take that foam off, you've got little labels there. Can't remember if it says, yeah, here we go. So when you flip each sensor over, it has a picture of where it goes. So this one goes on the head. So what you do is stick it in and rotate 90 degrees without getting your hair caught in it. Boop. And you got a glowing dot on your head. You get the idea. So now I'm just going to go through and get all of these placed. So the tricky one in my back. I figure out how to do that on my own. I'm going to take it off. There we go. So yes, it is possible to do on your own without somebody else to suit you up, but easier and faster if you've got an assistant helping you out here. So now I should have glowing green dot on my back. Yeah, good. This one goes here, back of pelvis. All right, I'm gonna trust that you don't need to see me walk through this whole process like some kind of really lame Rambo suiting up montage. Left foot. So we'll go ahead and stop recording for just a sec, and I will turn it back on when I have something else a little bit more interesting to share with you. All right. So that was seriously just a couple minutes, but I figured I'd save you the time of fast forwarding through that. Look, I've got a chip on my shoulder. A microchip.